Dr. Erin Bridgewater, and I'm with Cook Children's in Salina. And today I wanted to talk to all of you expectant parents out there about what is going to happen in the hospital when your brand new baby is born and you're there for a couple days. Assuming everything goes well and according to plan, your baby will most likely room in with you in your room, in mom's room in the hospital. There are two main things that pediatricians look for when they're monitoring, or pediatric nurse practitioners are looking for when they're monitoring your baby in the hospital. The first is, how is the baby feeding? So first and foremost, if you've chosen to breastfeed, you are going to be having a nurse and or lactation consultant come in and help you learn how to breastfeed this baby. And so one of my biggest pieces of advice there is do your homework before, okay? You don't want to be learning the very basic things about breastfeeding right then and there in the hospital when you've been in labor, haven't slept for a few days, and are in pain, and then you're trying to figure out the the basics of breastfeeding. So first and foremost, do your homework ahead of time. Go to that breastfeeding class, read those breastfeeding books, all of that. So then in the hospital, the last thing that you're trying to learn is just the actual mechanics of how to take this baby and get this baby to latch to the breast. So that will be one of the things that's happening, is getting the baby to feed. If you're bottle feeding, making sure that the baby is feeding well by bottle. So feeding. And with that, the pediatrician or pediatric nurse practitioner monitoring your baby will be looking at your baby's weight. What was the birth weight? And each day, those couple days in the hospital, what is happening to the weight after that? We expect some weight loss. Even champion feeders are going to lose a little bit of weight, and that is okay. That is some water weight that babies need to lose. And so what we as the providers are looking for is just to make sure that that weight isn't going too low too fast, that the baby is losing the expected amount of weight and not any extra weight. So that's something that we're looking for. The other main thing that we're watching for is jaundice. We expect some jaundice in your baby. We just want to make sure that jaundice level isn't going too high too fast, right? So we don't want the weight to go too low too fast. We don't want the jaundice level to go too high too fast. And so watching that, the nurse will be checking the baby's jaundice level on a regular basis in the hospital, and the provider will be coming and monitoring that and watching those levels to make sure those are under control. If for some reason they're going a little too high, a lot of times it goes back to, let's work on the feeding and make sure that's going okay. And if it's really going too high to the point where an intervention is necessary other than just feeding, then things like phototherapy, which is very easy, very benign, painless intervention, can happen to bring the baby's jaundice level back down. But those are the two main things we're watching for, assuming that the weight is looking good and the jaundice is looking good, and baby's temperature and breathing and all of those things are normal. Then most likely after a couple days, you'll go home and then typically follow up with your pediatrician in the office 1 to 3 days after discharge to once again check on feeding, check on jaundice, make sure everything's going well. For more information, visit cookchildrens.org.